Hey guys, welcome to L-Man Gaming. Today I got for you Horizon Forbidden West spoiler review. As you can see from my image, I have platinum the game. In the future, I'm going to hopefully start getting some more gameplay, right? I want to try to really improve on this channel, but I wanted to kind of go back and review some past games that I've played. And Forbidden West is definitely what's on my list, and probably next will be Elden Ring. But without further ado, let's get to it. Now, one thing I actually did want to mention too is Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a 5 out of 5 game. I really enjoyed it, but I want to preface by saying that I kind of let some things slide because Guerrilla Games, the developers that made Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, they went from making first-person shooters to an action RPG third person, right? I mean, that was pretty wild and crazy, and was just how much kind of success they had. I was willing to overlook some things because the open world in Zero Dawn, it is cookie cutter, right? The game plays in some cookie cutter kind of ways and falls in those kind of same open world trappings, right? You kind of go here, do a bandit camp, and collect this useless thing. Maybe it gives you something good later, right? But at that time, it was fine. It was fine for the industry and what was happening, and especially for them. But now going forward to Forbidden West, it is absolutely strictly worse than Zero Dawn. And that's what I'm here to convey to you today. So let me get right into really my main issue with Forbidden West. Like no holding back here. My main issue was that the sci-fi elements of the story are pushed so far ahead, but yet it seems like Aloy just got left behind somehow. And we can look at this very easily, right? Again, spoiler review. The Far Zeniths, super technological humans that have been living in space, they come down to Earth with, they're able to fly and have these impenetrable shields. And then Silence, your main, like one of your friends, Aloy's friends, super genius. He even comes up with, this technology that can break their shields. Aloy meets her clone, who's been living with the Far Zeniths. Yeah, Aloy herself even becomes friends with the Far Zenith. Oh, and then one last thing. The smartest AI ever created, Gaia, Aloy has access to her. So that should mean Aloy should be very well prepared and equipped and get all kind of new fun stuff, right? Nope. By the end of the game, you're fighting Optimus Prime, and I'm still rolling like it's Elden Ring. I'm still cramming berries down my throat, and I'm shooting a bunch of wooden arrows still. That was pretty boring and really a missed opportunity. So ultimately, it really seems like the developers pushed themselves into a corner. Because while they did upgrade Aloy in terms of her exploration tools, the rope pull and the glider and the air breather, she's still fighting machines like she's back in Zero Dawn. But yet everyone around her and everything happening is just so far ahead, and again, they just forgot about Aloy. And they can't do that again if they do make the trilogy. Because by the end of the game, the story lets you know that this human hive mind consciousness is coming. And if I'm playing the third game and I get to the end and I'm still rolling, chugging berries, shooting a bunch of little wooden arrows, like you done goofed. You done goofed and you just made the same game again. So let's bring this up to speed. Let's push this forward. So now that I got the big, my main complaint of the game out of the way, I want to kind of go into some of the other minor details, but ultimately that does really kind of clog up the game, right? The dialogue, oh man, the dialogue. I can't remember the last time I played an RPG where I was actually skipping through the dialogue. As I've gotten older, it's just become easier for me to really appreciate and sit down and relax and listen to kind of everything that's been given to me. But man, it almost seems so pointless and such a drag. I mean, I guess I started skipping through it. Like the best example is when you actually do finally get into the Forbidden West, right? There's a mini boss that happens, you're in the Forbidden West, right? You're so excited to start exploring this, but yet there's this guide here still that wants to tell you everything that's happening and what's going to happen and how to kind of, get your bearings. I'm like, dude, just let me go explore. I'm right here. I finally made it. Like, why are you sitting here talking my ear off? And yeah, eventually, like as the game just kind of went on, I realized that I wasn't going to remember any of this. It's pointless. So I just started skipping a whole bunch of stuff when I just did not care. And it's a shame too because you have your base, right, and these major side characters, but the dialogue just builds up and builds up, and you have to like listen to all of this, and it's just like no freaking way. So I end up skipping most of it when it benefited me, and they got to really start to look at kind of past games, other successful games, and what makes an interesting dialogue system, because they really failed to make me want to stick around and listen to anything. Now, in terms of some of like that gameplay mechanics that they added, the new stuff, I definitely want to talk about the melee system. Man, the melee system was actually really half baked too. Like the one good thing they did was the kind of like charges that you could put on machines when you're meleeing them, and you can shoot it for like the extra damage. That kind of made the game play differently. But ultimately, that falls short when you're fighting 50-foot tall machines, right? I mean, you shouldn't be anywhere near them. But in terms of the human combat, because that was a big right negative in the first game. Actually, the worst thing in Zero Dawn was the human combat. It's definitely better in Forbidden West, but where they improved on the melee system was not against the humans. For starters, right, there's no parry, so again, right, you're rolling more, and the combos just feel so basic and light, and it doesn't really kind of open things up how like it should be for like a melee system. I mean, just adding something like I said, like a parry, just some kind of simple counter or something would have made things just, oh man, made it so more enjoyable for especially things like the melee pits and the villages. So they really got to step that up too, right? Got to keep improving upon the melee system. Now, one of the last negatives I want to bring up is kind of back to the combat and what I was complaining about not having these more sci-fi elements, because from a gameplay standpoint, I was playing on very hard for most of the time, or try to. And the machines are so much more aggressive. Again, from a story standpoint, it makes sense, right? Hephaestus, the machines are crazier than ever, and Aloy is lacking now. So it plays pretty much similar to Zero Dawn, where you have to knock off parts, and that's great. But since the machines are so much faster, you have to slow down time, like the first game, right, to hit basically any shot. Only now the main problem is these machines, right, they got all the fun stuff. They got all the cool lasers and missiles and stuff, and I mean, I'm serious, guys. I was being knocked down nonstop. I like to think I'm pretty decent at video games. I'm pretty good. Like, I'm going to start doing gameplay. I'm going to show you. But holy crap, man. Like, I couldn't play the game. It felt like I couldn't play the game. From status effects to the way the machines move and knock me down. I mean, the way I enjoyed the game was spamming weapon stamina potions and just using all my OP abilities like over and over again. And it was fun. It was. But from a moment-to-moment point of view, oh, man, it was awful. It was awful. And, right, if they actually incorporate some of those sci-fi elements, which we'll kind of get into later, that would match up with the machines, and it would make it the combat better and more fun. Now, since I was just on the machines, yeah, let me get into some of the good stuff, right? They absolutely killed it when it comes to the new machines. All the new varieties, I mean, just absolutely spot on. From, the Slitherfang, the Dreadwing, I mean, just, they delivered on all the cool small, medium, and big machines. Just absolutely fabulous there. No complaints there. So look, right, the story and the characters, it's all good, right? I mean, I am being harsh on the game, but I have to. And, going forward, I still love this world, right? The world of Horizon is absolutely fabulous, and I do like Aloy as a protagonist, but they just got to get themselves straight here. The developers really got to figure out, well, hold on, like, do we want Aloy to be identified as this tribal warrior, or do we need to turn her into a sci-fi super soldier? And, I mean, you could do both. You can still do both. But that's really my hopings for the next game here. I mean, just a couple ideas off the top of my head. Like Mass Effect Andromeda, remember like the jetpack? Like the little or thruster pack? I mean, that would be perfect for Aloy. Right, to be able to thrust around the battlefield, be able to jump over the machines and dodge them. I mean, you still keep the core gameplay, but now you're able to match them. And you're able to be able to kind of get in more of their faces and, get closer to like these parts. And that kind of goes into the weaponry too, because remember, the best weapons in the game, from a fun standpoint, like knocking off the Thunderjaw disc launcher. Like, man, where is like a mini version of that? Give me a mini shotgun like that, mini disc launcher. I can just put rounds into a side of like a machine and open up these open up these cores, and then then maybe take a bow and arrow out and get that big sniper damage into the core like that, right? And right, this is all while kind of thrusting around in like a jetpack. It almost seems too obvious, right? It's like, come on, like, what are you guys doing here? It really seems too obvious and too good to like pass this up. Or again, right? Are you going to make the third game where Aloy is still chugging berries and rolling around while everyone else is flying around their super shields again? Like, come on, let's push this game forward here. As I said at the beginning of the video, Forbidden West to me is absolutely worse than Zero Dawn. And that just comes from the fact that things just don't line up. The combat is worse. Things just kind of bloat down the game, and ultimately I am playing the same game. Yes, the quality is absolutely out of this world, but at that point you're telling me that I'm just playing a more polished Ubisoft game, and that's not what I want. So whereas I gave them a pass the first time, I told myself I was not giving them a pass this time, and I'm not. So ultimately the game I would give it a 3 out of 5 star game. This is not a game you should be rushing out to buy a PS5 for. I know they're doing like the bundles and stuff, and probably for a reason, So if you play it that way, sure. But if you're thinking this is the game that's going to get me to buy a PS5, no way. No. It's quite frankly average. Because again, it's the same game. Zero Dawn did it better. But, if I wanted to be a little bit more fair, yeah, sure, I can give it a 4 out of 5. But that would only be for just the technical aspects. And again, I'm not doing that. So ultimately, it is a 3 out of 5 star game. And as I said before, really hoping they can push this forward in the next game to kind of close out this trilogy and get something really unique and different, kind of like how they did with the Zero Dawn. Because for me, just adding a whole bunch of new cool machines and tacking on, the rest of the story is just not going to do it for me. They gotta, I'm not saying from rebuild it from the ground up, but there's so many cool design choices that they can do, and I really just hope it starts with Aloy and how she's going to, go through this world in a combat-focused way now. They don't need to back themselves into a corner anymore. Let's just get Aloy back up to speed in terms of what she's dealing with. So thanks everyone for watching the review. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep improving, hopefully get some better mics, gameplay being shown. Right, it's just the start of the channel. Next video is going to be on Elden Ring. And yeah, again, thank you for stopping by. That's it.